And yeah, blah 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 blah
Blah, blah,
blah.
blah, blah.
Cheers, man.
Cheers.
Let's start off
Cheers.
our morning.
Coffee,
Good morning.
baby.
You join us on a Saturday morning. Saturday, right? Saturday, yeah.
Saturday morning.
And we're now having coffee instead of our usual beer. You know, or Coke, which I had last time. Oh my God. I don't know how true this is. On a side note, I just found out that Mexican Coke, they've been skimping out on cane sugar, actually. And now it's high fructose corn syrup. That sucks.
Oh,
That's
no.
like the whole reason
That's a
you
big
get
difference.
a Mexican Coke
That's a big difference.
is for the cane sugar, not for the, you know, and it tastes better. I don't know. Maybe they put like crack in it. or some shit.
Extra Coke. Actual
Maybe.
Coke.
So when I read the book, The Ultramind Solution by Dr. Mark Hyman, which started me on the path of health, he mentioned that high fructose corn syrup is one of the most toxic substances you can put into your body because it's such a concentrated dose of
Agreed.
sugar.
Big time. It really is. You know? Yeah, high fructose corn syrup is, I mean, it's just not good for you. But I've said this on like a lot of occasions. I even did a speech on it in my speech class.
Nice.
It's just like, you shouldn't be drinking this stuff, you know, at all. If you can avoid it, please avoid it. You know?
Which is why I'm drinking San Pellegrino right now, because I drank tons of soda when I was a kid. And I realized the only reason why I liked soda is because of the carbonation and the sparkliness on your tongue and in your mouth. And so with San Pellegrino, I get the same effect by drinking just straight up carbonated water. And I'll maybe add some stevia to it to simulate it
The sweetness.
tasting like soda.
Yeah.
So if I use regular stevia, it tastes like Sprite. But if I use vanilla stevia, it tastes like root beer.
Nice. That's cool. I actually like carbonated water too.
Man,
I think the reason
do
why
not.
Europeans drink carbonated water is because it helps settle the stomach a little bit after a meal. So I've been enjoying carbonated water after a meal now because it just helps settle the stomach. At least to me. Like I feel like I feel not so bloated, especially like I feel better.
Does it help with the digestion?
I
Or
think it
not
does.
so
And
much?
also, if you have some sort of upset stomach, drink some carbonated water and it helps.
Like
that
not-
helps me.
Not Sprite, but just carbonated
You
water.
can drink Sprite.
But I think
You know,
the
the
sugar
carbonation is
content-
really what helps. But if you could just avoid like, soda in general, you know, it's probably best. But yeah,
Once in a blue moon for me, you guys.
and the Blue Moon, the beer.
Oh, Blue Moon is great. I love Blue Moon. Oh man. Oh,
And that's
Yeah.
primarily why soda is bad, and it's a great contributor to the obesity epidemic. And it's not because of the carbonation; it's because of the high fructose corn syrup that's in every soda.
Yeah, man. Corn's just such a big product of America. And there's so many things you could do with corn, you know. It's not limited to just, just sugar or just eating straight up corn. I think you can even make like fuel out of
you
it.
could fuel a car.
You could fuel a car
Yeah.
because you can make like biodiesel or biofuels, ethanol, you know, which some people put in their car. You know, I think ethanol is a product of gasoline that you buy here in America, at least. I think up to like 10%.
Yeah,
Or something like
something
that.
like that.
Something small, not really big, but ethanol is a part of like fossil fuels here,
Yeah.
you know. So that's where we're at.
Yeah.
Cool,
Still not
man.
going electric. Not yet.
You know that Tesla's really changing the game, man. Eventually, we'll have like a Cars cast or something like that, but
Yeah,
not
that'd be
to
cool.
touch lightly. Tesla's really changing the game, man. The way we think about cars and just everything, man. Like buying a Tesla is such a smart move. You know,
Yeah.
if you're buying just a one car to do it all, I think a Tesla is just the smartest way to go. And with a Tesla, you don't have to like you don't have to do these things you have to do for the car like regularly, which is like oil changes, smog checks, engine lights.
Are so big here in California.
Yeah.
If you guys are watching from elsewhere, I mean, us car drivers here, we're subject to all these rules, carb exemptions, if you have certain parts and whatnot. It's such a
California is really strict on internal combustion engines in general.
Yeah.
So anything that puts a limit on the internal combustion engine is subject to some sort of fine or law.
Yeah.
Like exhaust or whatever. But when you have a Tesla, you don't deal with any of that.
Yeah.
Plus, you can have the car even drive for you. Yeah. I think Tesla's such a smart buy for anybody who's just like really wants I think Teslas are for people who don't necessarily like to drive.
Speaking of which, the automation now for driving, the self-driving aspect of, I think maybe on some select Teslas for the higher end models is a big deal. I know a buddy that he put ankle weights on his on the steering wheel, and then to emulate hands being there, because I think the mode, Tesla, if you're listening, don't listen, but he put weights on the steering wheel to simulate the hands being there so that he could like take a nap on the way to work or something, which is like super dangerous.
Yeah, Tesla even says themselves you're not supposed to let the car drive for you.
Yeah.
You're supposed to
it's a momentary,
to still be engaged.
Yeah,
it's more of like a momentary thing. So you could like be on your phone even
real
though you're
quick.
not supposed to be on your phone.
Or take a sip of your drink.
Like you can even find some videos of people like having sex while they're like, while the car's driving and they're like in the freeway in traffic. It's pretty nuts, dude, but it exists. It's like, dude, that's the first thing that people would try to do. It's like, oh, a car can drive itself. Let's fuck.
Jeez.
But again, like to my main point, I think a lot of people who commute, at least in California, they don't commute because they want to, or they don't drive because they want to. Even myself, there's more often than not, I'm driving because I need to get somewhere, right? And therefore, you don't really care what you drive. In fact, sometimes, it doesn't really matter. Like for me, when I just go to work or if I go to run pops at the shop or whatever, I just take my shitbox 1999 Honda Accord. Thank you, Steph. But when I want to do spirited driving or for special events, then you bring out the nicer cars.
Right.
The Tesla is all of that in one, and I think that's what's really cool is that you can be the guy who doesn't really want to drive. You're just driving to get around, but you can also have a really nice car. It's such a smart buy. And Elon, their cars have such good safety ratings too, which is a huge plus for me. I mean, with the car, like a lot of the center of gravity's like at the top because of the engine and all this stuff, because the batteries in a Tesla are mounted real low and the motors too. It's really safe.
Really
so
balanced.
It stays planted to the ground really well. Plus, like they have great air conditioning, the great visibility.
Yeah. The greenhouse
great space to put stuff instead of having like a trunk only. You have like a frunk. I think it's smart, man. If you have a family, get that. If you really want to save a lot of money because you don't have to spend on gas.
Yeah, the return of investment.
Return of investment is really
big.
huge. Like a Tesla's a really smart car.
Yeah, but initial cost, man, it's up there. But
it's almost like having if I would get a black one, I'd probably make it a Batmobile, like Batman. Oh, the Tumbler. Oh, you don't want to do that. And I'll be like, does it come in black? A line from like our really favorite movie series. Me and Keith, we love the Nolan Batman series. So good. So good. What a great movie,
I was going to propose for one of the topics of this podcast to discuss the wisdom that we draw from the Dark Knight series quotes.
I just rewatched Dark Knight recently.
Yeah, man. Well,
how did it make you feel?
Dude, it's empowering. You're like, man, I could do anything. One of my coworkers refers me to, he calls me, I don't know why he calls me Batman, but maybe because I just do my own thing or whatever. But, and I don't care about certain things, but yeah. Batman.
But what a great series, because the thing I like the most about Christopher Nolan's Batman series is that Batman not Christian Bale, but that the character he plays, that Bruce Wayne, is the most attainable superhero of all time. Because he wasn't like funny or weird like Adam West, or he wasn't like comical like George Clooney. You know, it's maybe somewhat Michael Keaton was good, but this guy, you feel like, especially in today's modern times, you feel like that Batman can actually exist.
Yeah.
Because they tackle real world topics, right? They tackle, a corrupt government with bureaucrats. They tackle people who are really psychotic and, like with Joker and stuff, like who, he points out a lot of flaws in the judicial system and all this stuff, and so on and so forth. Those are real topics that still exist today. Bureaucracy and psychosis and homelessness and all this stuff, right? And you feel like it kind of comes from the top, and when the people get really corrupt, you got to get somebody like a Batman, to help out. And the cool part about that guy was he was insanely rich. Like, Batman has no superpowers. We've known this forever. Yeah. Batman has no superpowers, but yet he still manages to be a superhero because he manages to do things, mostly with money, to help out people without engaging in like superhuman strength or speed or whatever.
Not inherently, at least.
Yeah. So that's why I love that series of Batman, is because that's the most attainable Batman. And there were real characters, like talking about real world topics.
Yeah.
Check this out. I'm going to quote something from Batman Begins right here. Right,
which is the first one in the Nolan series.
So he goes, "No gun. I'm insulted. You could have just sent a thank you note." Then Bruce Wayne says, "I didn't come here to thank you. Came here to show you that not everyone in Gotham's afraid of you." Then he goes, "Only those who know me, kid. Look around you. You'll see 2 councilmen, a union official, a couple off-duty cops, and a judge." Points a gun at Bruce. "Now, I wouldn't have a second's hesitation of blowing your head off right here and right now in front of them. Now, that's power you can't buy. That's the power of fear."
It's a good quote. It's a good line, because that just goes to show how corrupt Gotham was, right? Where the criminals were the one running the entire city, where they bought out cops, the judicial system, with the judge and maybe some lawyers, obviously. That's nuts, man. And I feel like that exists to some level today. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, and I'm not saying it's blatantly open, but it does happen, Everybody's subject to some corruption, even more the higher you get in the system, So I do feel like that's a real tangible topic, is that people can be corrupted.
Yeah, and the point we're trying to prove here is that the Dark Knight series was a good representation of reality.
Especially during the pandemic, I drew a lot of tangents from the Dark Knight series, namely The Dark Knight, where Joker says a line. He's like, what's the line here there was basically a point that I was trying to make where it's like, everybody has a point to where, or was it the Joker, or was it Ra's al Ghul?
Which movie?
No. Create enough hunger and anybody can become a criminal. And everybody can become a criminal, right? So it's like we were reaching a point during this pandemic where nobody was working and everybody was just staying at home and being crazy and
hoarding,
hoarding. You remember that? Where it's just like, dude, if you create enough hunger, anybody can become a criminal. And it's just like people were engaging in some like risky behavior, right? And then now the Joker line that I think I remember is, in their last moments, people kind of show you who they really are, right? And you don't get that when you shoot somebody with a gun. You get it with like a knife, he said.
Under duress, right?
Under a duress. But we don't have to use the knife physically. I use the knife as a metaphor, where it's like, this pandemic brought out a lot of people's true actions and true emotions, because everybody was on a tangent of we could die. There's no cure for this disease that's out. So what really matters to me at this point in time? Is it my life, my family, or is it my job? You know, like some people, and I argue to this day, have chased what really matters to them. And now that we're kind of coming out of this pandemic, okay, you know, like it's not like a flesh-eating virus. It's, you know, we can live through it. Yeah. But the point I'm trying to make is that back then, people didn't know that. People thought that you could die because there really was no cure. Still really isn't a cure. So in their last moments, people show you who they really are. And I think Joker showed that in the movie, where it's just like, you know, if people come over some sort of stress factor, they really start to show who they are. And the slower you bring it out, the more it's apparent. So I think some people became real assholes in the pandemic because that's just who they really were, you know. And when it came to like government structures and social order kind of breaking down, people showed that they were either really good people of character or really bad. So,
oh yeah, here I have a good quote to follow on what you just said. All right, from the Joker, he goes, "You know what I am? I'm just a dog chasing cars. I wouldn't know what to do with one if I caught it. I just do things. The mob has plans. The cops have plans. Gordon's got plans. You know, they're schemers. Schemers trying to control their little worlds. I try to show the schemers how pathetic their attempts to control things really are. So when I say that you and your girlfriend was nothing personal, you know I'm telling the truth. It's the schemers that put you where you are. You were a schemer. You had plans, and look where that got you. I just did what I do best. I took your little plan. I turned it on itself. Look what I did to this city with a few drums of gas and a couple of bullets. You know what I noticed? Nobody panics when things go according to plan, even when the plan is horrifying. If tomorrow I told the press that like a gangbanger would get shot or a truckload of soldiers would be blown up, nobody panics because it's all part of the plan. But when I say one little old mayor will die, well, then everyone loses their minds, right? So, you know, talking about schemers, right? You mentioned during the pandemic, and, you know, with the pandemic happening in an election year, like you had a lot of media promoting their own plans and their schemes to the point where you don't even know who to believe anymore, right? So just think about like how many schemers are out there in the real world today having some sort of agenda. And it can be on both sides too, right? You know, on the right or the left. But the fact is, like, there are a bunch of schemers out there.
Yeah, man. Man, what a great movie. You know, it just draws so many. It's just so relatable to this day, that movie, that series. Like, if you haven't seen that movie, you should go watch it, or that series. You don't have to like superhero movies. I've watched every single Marvel movie, and, you know, none of them hold a candle to that series because I just think it's just so relatable and so real, you know? There are a lot of schemers in the world, and really that is kind of how it is. It's always been that way. It's just been even more apparent the last couple of years, you know? But to just, you know, like this series of Batman was just so good that, you know, every bad villain, or who's a good villain? Every villain that's come out in a movie is almost like super bad to the point where you can't even agree with them. But I think the trend now in movies is that you have villains that are very agreeable. I don't know if you noticed that. So like, I didn't necessarily agree with Ra's al Ghul, but I can see his point and I can see why he wanted to do it. You know, he wanted to burn Gotham to the ground, not because, you know, he was evil, but because he said that, hey, man, like, this place is so corrupt, we can't even turn it around anymore. We just got to burn it to the ground. And, you know, people will find a way to reconstruct it. You know, they say that the League of Shadows ransacked Rome, you know, something like that. So basically every civilization that's reached its peak had to be brought down, and they were at the hands of it all. Again, Gotham was at a point where it couldn't like be saved again. And I'm wondering if we're even reaching that point now in our own government, where it's like, you know, we must have it so good that we as Americans must have it so good that now we're worried about stuff that, you know, what didn't matter before, right? Not saying it doesn't matter, but let's say to touch lightly on it, like pronouns. Like what to call a certain person. Identity, you know. Obviously, you know, these things are important. You know, I'm not discounting them at all. But
these are first world problems.
They are first world problems.
Yeah.
Like I had somebody complain to me the other day about traffic in Southern California. And I'm like, I wanted to tell this person, you know, because I was trying to be nice because I just let them ride that wave. But I really wanted to tell them, like, look, are you really worried about traffic when you live in SoCal? It's something you have to deal with.
Yeah.
Do you complain about the sun in the summer? What the hell's the matter with you? You know, like, do you complain about it being cold in the winter? Like, bro, come on. You know, does that make any sense to you? Like, it didn't make any sense to me. And that's really kind of like, it draws that tangent too, where it's like, now we're at a point where we don't have to worry about like hunger and being invaded by another country, because we're at a pretty good point. We don't have to worry about that. Not to mention America's landlocked or locked by two major oceans, and then the countries, you know, top and bottom from us aren't really posing like war or threat, you know, because we're all allies pretty much for the most part.
Yeah.
So, you know, that again, see, I drew that tangent just from Batman.
Here you go.
What a great series.
Tim, are you saying
here's the quote.
Oh, go ahead.
Here's the quote.
Let's hear it.
When a forest grows too wild, a purging fire is inevitable and natural.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So I guess what that means is, you know, like us as a civilization, you know, where we get to complain about these first world problems, I wonder what would be the great equalizer to bring us back to reality.
Right. I mean, who are the daily Batmans in you know, normal regular society? Like
Joe Rogan.
People that
speaks
people
the
that
truth.
shed light.
Batman.
Yeah.
He's a vocal Batman.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
You know?
why have non-issues, quote unquote non-issues, become issues now? It's
Because we can now.
It's like,
you know.
Yeah.
I say that.
Why
I think I
complain?
said this last time about like anxiety and mental health disorders.
Sure.
Where it's like, I don't even know if people really have mental health disorders, because, you know, you can't afford to have a quote mental health disorder when you're in a third world country, because you'll starve.
Sure.
Are you depressed? Tough. You're gonna die, because if you don't find shelter, that's it.
Right. Like, do you
Or
really,
if you don't find food, you'll die.
does this person really have a chemical imbalance, or are you just complaining about your current living situation and the cards that have been dealt to you?
Yeah,
you know,
like
it's tough.
If a guy who can barely, let's say, afford to eat like a bowl of rice a day, do you really think he's gonna complain about like, I'm depressed? I'm like, bro, your situation, yes, it can be depressing, but are you gonna sit there and wallow because you're sad, or do you actually have a chemical imbalance that causes that?
Right.
You know, like I'm not discounting anybody's mental health disorders,
because we don't
but
know.
again, we're living in such a first world comfort that we can afford to worry about things. Or it's just like, you know, and I think society, at least here in California, is just like at a point where it's like, oh, you know, we want to trash talk everybody has it a little bit better than us and beyond, because you don't want to do it for yourself. It's like, you know, instead of the mentality, what can I do for myself so that even though I'm dealt this hand, I can try to make the most out of it and look at it positively, where it's like, no, I'll look at it negatively and shit on anybody else who doesn't have it down to my level.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, you know, like we should tax the rich people. I'm like, well, they obviously have made better choices than you have. Maybe they were also dealt a better hand. I'm not saying life is definitely unfair.
Right.
You know, that's what makes it great. But not everybody has the same starting point. But not everybody has to have like this shitty mentality where they just want to trash talk and shit on other people and yet don't want to do better. They just want to bring you down. You know, like they just want to be a troll, you know?
Right.
That's lame.
So this is something I was reflecting on today. And it was after Muay Thai because over at Evolve Mixed Martial Arts, they get the Muay Thai masters, these grand champions from Thailand. And I was just observing our instructors today and just seeing how simple of a life that they live. And the reason why is because in Thailand, with Muay Thai being the national sport, dude, it's very simple over there. It's Muay Thai, if you win, you get money and you put food on the table, right? Anything else outside of that is irrelevant. So really it's just Muay Thai and that's it. You know, like they don't have these concerns that they don't have these first world problems that we talk about, right? Really to them, like they're doing stuff just to get the basics in life. And what I noticed is when their life is as basic as that, meaning win fights, put food on the table, then you have more capacity to appreciate other things. So if the main thing is Muay Thai and putting food on the table and then that's it, then everything outside of that, from what I notice, is just laughing, having fun, joking around. Really? Because the main thing is Muay Thai and Muay Thai putting food on the table. So it's my observation that because they live a much simpler life, I feel like they are more happy than we are here living in our first world. Because in our first world, yeah, we have all the basics met, but then we have all these things on top of it that further complicate our life, and it takes up space to the point where we can't appreciate the simple things the way the Thais do.
Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's a Googleable thing. You can Google it while you're listening to this cast, but it basically talks about what you need. Keith, if you could pull that up real quick while I'm talking about this, just so that I know I'm not talking out of my ass. But basically, look, Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Boom.
You know. So what does it talk about as the most fundamental levels? Food and shelter, right?
Physiological needs: air, water, food, shelter, sleep, clothing, reproduction.
Yeah, man. See, some people don't even have all of that. Reproduction. Hell yeah.
Oh, yeah, dude. Man.
Damn. Okay.
Reference to our last podcast. If people got laid more, then we probably have less injustice.
See, see, there you go. Maslow's hierarchy of needs, bro. Look, if people, that's at the very bottom, reproduction. Dude. Look, if people, that's like, obviously most people have access, at least in America, to those bottom stuff, right? Actually, no, we have the worst poverty rates of a lot of countries. We think we're this first world nation, but we also have a huge poverty rate.
Yeah, scratch that.
Somebody pull up like how much the poverty rate is of America.
I'll pull it up, man.
But anyway, back to the main point here. Look at these countries that just fulfill that basic need. Right at the bottom of Maslow's hierarchy, which is like food, shelter, air, water, reproduction. They can get that and they are very content with their lives. I have a friend, his name is Steve Grande, and I don't want to speak too much for him, but he basically left a life of living in Vegas, working at a casino. He worked with a lot of glamorous like products, because I think he liked watches and rings and all that stuff. He looked like a jewelry store or something. And he left for Hawaii some years ago to live a much simpler life. And I think he's happier now, and he exercises like pretty well. He likes to run. He likes to cycle. So he meets all those needs at the bottom. And I think he lives, because he doesn't have like such a complicated life of like loans and all this other stuff. Like, some people who live the farm life or a simpler life are arguably a lot happier because they have less attachments to other things like social media and what other people think. You know, where like the value of your life is what you put into it, because literally you have like, it's either you work or you fight, like the ties, or you die, you know. And therefore when you succeed in certain things, it's just like you meet all your needs, those bottom needs in Maslow's hierarchy. You know, what else is in that pyramid, by the way? What's above that?
So when you move up the pyramid, the next level above that is safety needs, and that's personal security, employment, resources, health, property. Above that is love and belonging, friendship, intimacy, family, sense of connection. Above that is esteem, respect, self-esteem, status, recognition, strength, freedom. And above that is self-actualization, desire to become the most that we can be.
What an interesting pyramid, huh? And yet above that is pronouns and all this other stuff that we worry about, you know?
Right.
And it's just like people put emphasis on that more than everything else at the below, like, you know, like some of the more the basic stuff.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird? I guess I wouldn't say weird, but...
You know what's crazy too? Because like noticing that the Thais live such simple lives, I feel like they have everything in that physiological needs. And then I feel like they have everything above too. Because like they live such a simple yet meaningful life. You know, like they only keep the things that are actually mean something in their life.
Right.
And it's not a lot. And then in doing so, they have all these things in the Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
You know, it all starts with a good foundation, as with anything, right? I'm pretty sure we've all like messed around with Jenga blocks or played with like Lincoln Logs when we were kids.
Right.
You know, what a great way to establish that we need a good foundation in our lives. Otherwise, anything you build on top of it is shit. So some of these people who, you know, supersede the foundation layer of this hierarchy of needs tend to have more corrupted top levels because they haven't established a very good foundation.
Right.
You know?
Yep.
So that kind of sucks.
That could be a number of things. Broken home life.
That's true.
Environmental, you know, formative years where they're, you know, without paternal or maternal figures. Even formative years in school. A lack of education. It could be anything.
That's very true.
Yeah.
I'm just glad that, you know, I'm glad that my parents, they established something very good for me growing up. I was able to not be hungry. I was able to have foundation of like shelter, education. I was shown a lot of that, you know. So I thank them for that.
Yeah.
You know, not everybody gets that starting point.
And
Some
I think
people get it worse, you know.
When there's a lack of that, when these folks that have had a lack of that growing up, they seek a sense of identity, and these days, because the ambiguous nature of, you know, identity, and we've established all these pronouns these days, I guess there's a level of confusion. So these kids want to, you know, be identified. They need a sense of belonging, but
yeah, sense of belonging is really...
There's a plethora of choices
difficult now.
You know?
Yeah, there's so many. To scale it up a bit, I think finding your niche or place in the world, especially when you're a teenager, is something that you have to do on your own. And when I was growing up, I didn't rely on anybody to find out who I was. I just did it. I don't think anybody nor everybody can do that. And so they rely on external factors to help them make that decision instead of looking from within. So what they do is, and this is not a good thing because we are fostering this now with social media, is that they turn to social media for validation. And that, I think there was a study, somebody pulled this up, Instagram, how much it's affecting teens nowadays. Like, what's the suicide rate? What's the depression rate? Because what they do is they love to compare on these social media sites. In our day, social media was barely coming out with
infancy,
Friendster and MySpace.
Right.
And I remember Zanga, AZN status and stuff. You remember those days? Yeah, man. It wasn't as big as it is now. That there's clearly a market for it, But we were only putting emphasis on those, like to how many friends you had and what color your background was.
It certainly feeds ego when to see like, oh, I have this many friends, this many followers.
Yeah.
I'm repping this brand and I get to afford X amount of technology or brand anything. But social media has definitely pushed the material aspect of putting that top level pyramid of, let me bring up the hierarchy here again. Was actually not even on there. Well, never mind. Well, on the very top here, it says self-actualization. I think maybe some people kind of confuse that with achieving your full potential. So looking the part, looking like I have it all on social media and I have this car, I make this amount of money, but all for the look. It's such a facade. It's such a front on social media. You don't really know. You don't really know.
I try. The only reason I consume social media is because we have a band and we need to get out there and we kind of need to see what sticks and works.
Yeah.
Which if you're listening, our music's on Spotify, listen to us. So, shameless plug there.
We'll be getting more. We promise you
we're
guys.
Putting out more content.
We're cooking.
Follow us on social media. We're on Instagram. We're also on YouTube. Anyway, shameless plug. The only reason I consume it is for that reason alone. I just want to see what sticks. There is a good side to social media too, where social media is good for if you're not really in touch with a whole lot of people. Like there's some
the connection aspect is there.
There's a way to get us more connected with social media, and yet ironically, it's also a way to get us more drifted apart.
Do you guys I know you guys miss long phone calls with your friends on your home landline or whoever the girl you were dating with at the time, and hiding the fact that you're on the phone or whatever. Like, when was the last time you had a long phone call? Well, we all talk every once in a while, but and we have close friends on our tight circle because we all have solid foundations, right? Yeah. Between the three of us, at least in our band. But do you guys miss those long phone call nights, like on a school night, man? Like,
I miss them very much. And my game back then was I would call them up and I'd be like, I have a song for you, and I'd put the phone onto the speaker. At the time, it was Cisco. It was the Cisco album in 1999. And then I think the song was 'Cause without you, girl, my life is incomplete.
Still a great song.
So the name of the song is Incomplete.
When was the last time we dedicated something on the radio? I mean, now we have playlists. I used to have to rip the radio station with the cassette tape, and I was like,
bruh,
you gotta pause it before the commercial.
We're gonna turn this into a T-shirt.
Side tangent, but
But anyway, there was a point where you remember you hit play and record, and you would record the song on the stereo or the wherever your radio, because that's the only way you could rip it. There was no Kazaa back then, or Crosswire, and the only way you could play it for your prospective girl, because we're straight, is to call her up on the phone and be like, hey, and then boom, press play. And oh man, it
was always funny because when you whenever you included the line like, "I have a song for you," I just thought it was hilarious because that cued you putting the phone onto the speaker. I have a song for you.
Yeah. It's not like now. It's much easier now. I have a Spotify playlist. Do you remember making mixtapes? I think we talked about this on a previous
CDs
one. Burn CDs with like,
Everlong. It used to be if you put Everlong on a mix CD for a girl, that means like you really liked her.
This wasn't very long ago. I did that for a girl. Turns out that she wasn't the right girl. Let's just say that. But I did that for her. I even made her a CD as a throwback. And as a throwback, and it had some songs in there that I really genuinely liked. It's just like, look, this sums up my life on a CD, and I just felt like that was a true love letter of sorts.
Yeah.
Us being musicians here, it meant even more coming from me, but it was totally disregarded. And it was just like, it's okay, because what that means to me, and Everlong was on that CD, by the way, but it just showed me that she just wasn't the right one.
Yeah,
which is fine. It's like you can't hit them all. But to me, I do see that tangent where it's just like making a mixtape, making a burn CD with your own like. Man, I went through all stops. I even made like the CD cover and all that.
With your own handwriting,
with
written
my own handwriting,
Sharpie.
Sharpie.
I would step it up and have the principal CD cover on
Lasers, yeah.
And you just like stick it on there. Oh man,
customize it on
Genius,
Word with
bro.
clip art and word art or whatever. But main point, it's like how do we the social media has closed the gap in wanting in for us to connect, but obviously nowadays it has done more to divide us. But how do we fulfill that third level on that pyramid, the belongingness and love needs, like, and how do we express ourselves these days?
Well, I would say it all starts with your foundation, like what Tim said. And for a number of years, I have had a rocky foundation or an unstable foundation. And simply because at the time, I just wasn't okay with being with myself. You look at that love and belonging stage on Maslow's hierarchy and needs. I was always looking to the external for something to make me feel complete or happy. And then when I did Transformation Mastery by Julian Blanc, plug for that program. So
nice.
If you're interested in the self-actualization piece or being at peace with yourself, I recommend that program. But the main takeaway I got from there is you are fine, you are okay all by yourself. And the only way you realize that is by cultivating self-love. And that's why I thought it was a great program. So once you develop that self-love, you'll realize that love and belonging stage of Maslow's hierarchy of needs is already within you. And you don't have to look external. And then ironically, once you realize that for yourself, then automatically the external starts coming to you instead of you having to find it.
100% agree. I totally disagree with the statement, my better half. When people say,
referring to marriage,
when people say these speeches or when they introduce their partner whoever it is, they say, my better half, XYZ, this is my better half, blah, blah, blah. It's like, so are you saying you were incomplete before this marriage and because you got married, you're now complete? Okay, good for you. At least you have somebody. That's good. I wouldn't consider it a need, though. I wouldn't consider it a need to a point where it's like, I need somebody else in order to be happy. I need somebody else in order to be XYZ and blah, blah, blah. You will find whatever works for you. And if you can find somebody that always gives you that fulfillment, good for you, I don't think you need it, though. I would argue against that because I'm not somebody who needs somebody to be happy, because we all have ways of finding our needs in this Maslow's hierarchy. And as long as you get it, in one way, shape, or form, and you're not doing it by killing anybody or doing some really atrocious things, then you will be able to make yourself happy and things will start coming your way. Just don't be a dick. I think that sums up that entire Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Don't be a dick. Don't be a dick and do things for yourself without having to step on too many people's toes.
Yeah, pull anyone down or shit
Like,
talking.
not anywhere on that pyramid does it say bring people down to your level.
Yeah.
You know? It doesn't say bring people to my level because I'm only stuck at stage 1.
Yeah, well, again, you know.
You got to work on those things yourself.
Misery loves company. It feeds ego when you sulk and you you seek that comfort in people sympathizing with your lack of insert whatever here. It feeds your ego, but it's really unhealthy. And social media has done a lot to, unfortunately, feed that part of that negative side of feeding your ego. But yeah,
true.
don't use social media for that. It's unhealthy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Some people use it as therapy, and that kind of sucks. It's like if they're lacking something, they love to go to the internet and just be like, "Hey, I'm missing this," and blah blah blah, and then they get all sad and depressed.
Yeah.
But also another thing I wanted to mention about this Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the more you're concentrated on providing value to others and being of service and being selfless, ironically, all this stuff comes to you as well. So if I use our breakfast burrito business example,
It sounds so good right now.
yeah.
Go ahead, Keith.
if I was focused on that business and every day my focus was people are going to have a good day because I'm going to start their day off with a bomb-ass breakfast burrito, well, I would get my physiological needs because I'd be earning money so that I can have my water, food, shelter, sleep, clothing. And when we get to reproduction, who knows, maybe you're happy when you sell these breakfast burritos and you come across someone you like and you're charming and then they like you back and you get his or her number and then you go on a date later on that week. Okay, cool.
Right.
Your safety needs, if you're putting out a great product or service, like there's your safety right there. People can't do without your product or service. So you have this personal security. You have employment, resources, health, and property, right? Let's say your business takes off and you're able to buy property. Love and belonging. I'm pretty sure you'll come across some good people to make friends with to where you'll feel that love and belonging. But if you are selfless and being of service, then you kind of have a sense of purpose and knowing that people can't be without you. So then, you feel that love and belonging from people. Esteem, respect, self-esteem, it's the same thing. If you know that you are needed because of your breakfast burrito, that kind of builds your self-esteem. And then higher than that, self-actualization. You're like, well, with this breakfast burrito business, if I'm successful in this, and people like me for this business, what else can I be successful at? And what else can people love me for?
Right.
And that's just an example of when you're selfless, you attain all levels of this Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
I just started fucking laughing because, okay.
What happened?
Okay, wait. So me and Keith were talking about like what if instead of like doing merch for our band shows, we provide them with a buffet. Well, what if our value that we provide is food? Okay, no. Well, it was so funny because
What was the conversation?
we would just like get a bunch of Filipinos and be like, "Oh, yung Indescendants, let's watch them." It's
Hey
free
guys,
buffet.
after party's gonna be at Vegas Buffet in Burbank.
Or like Hokkaido.
Or Kaido. No, okay, let me show you why I bridged that together. Okay, so the reason I bridged that together is because we keep talking about breakfast burritos now, and now I want us to come up with an Indescendants breakfast burrito.
Yeah, let's do it.
We're going to make a
do
video
it.
where we talk about making a breakfast burrito, man. So that's going to be our merch. We're actually going to even have a shirt that says Indescendants breakfast burrito with a picture of a burrito.
Okay, next time I'm in LA, let's actually do the breakfast burrito business.
Let's make a video. The Indescendants breakfast burrito. Let's go to the courthouse and sell some breakfast burritos.
Yeah,
how dope.
Like even without a food license, right? Let's just do it.
Well, that doesn't stop a lot of the people here in LA from selling their hot dog cart, or
which I buy from all the time.
Which, especially after a long night of either clubbing or concert going, those fools are right outside waiting.
Commodities,
like
guys.
The best smelling thing ever, and you want it. How dope would it be if we just go to a fucking show that people are playing? Just like, all right, guys, breakfast burrito time. I know it's like 12 o'clock at night.
But you're hungry.
And you're drunk.
You're famished.
And you want this. Like,
here's a free sticker as well with the burrito.
What are we going to put in our burrito, bro? Definitely. Well, if it's breakfast burrito, it's got to have an egg. That's what makes it breakfast.
Maybe uniquely Californian because.
Then it needs an avocado.
A little guac in there.
It's like what are the Indescendants band about when it comes to breakfast burrito? What do we want in our burrito? I definitely think egg and avocado are there, but what's our meat source? Bacon?
Bacon, sausage, and a fluffy, warm, buttery tortilla.
With a buttery egg.
Yeah.
Damn, man.
And the cheese has to be melted so that when you bite into the breakfast burrito, like when you bite into it, like the cheese is melted so much that you have to like pull the breakfast burrito away, and it's so because the cheese is so melty.
You guys, we're onto something here.
I'm just hungry. You remember the old Carl's Jr. commercial? How it was just like blatantly like it just the person eating. What was the slogan? If it doesn't.
No. I know what you're talking about.
Get all over your face.
Yeah, it doesn't belong in your. Wait, whatever it is.
I forget what it is.
Yeah, but you guys can look it up.
But I swear to God, those Carl's Jr. commercials, they worked on me.
Yeah,
because you hear the crisp of the burger.
Yeah,
like
that's early ASMR for you guys.
Yeah, that's like old school ASMR before ASMR became a thing.
Maybe side tangent. We'll explore that later. But why did that become a thing? It's so crazy to me.
But it was so good, it made me want a burger every time. The $6 burger, which was such a failing name. It's like calling the Mini a Mini because it ain't a Mini no more. We're talking about cars again.
Yeah,
but basically, like,
it's a medium.
What a failing like name, because the Mini when it first came out, it was really fucking small. If you see a Mini nowadays, it's pretty big.
It's medium. It's large.
Yeah, sure, it's smaller than maybe a regular like a Corolla, but it's still. It's big. Yeah. It's bigger than the original Mini.
Large Cooper.
And why would you call a $6 burger with inflation and stimulus checks like a $6 burger anymore? You would call a $6 burger a cheap burger now.
Yeah.
That's funny. On a side note, but damn.
I think the quote was, if it doesn't get all over the place, it doesn't
belong in your face. Yes. That's what it is.
And I just remember Dennis Rodman eating one with all the crunchiness. And then this really hot, attractive woman.
They'd get some easy on the eyes models for the Carl's Jr. commercials. Yeah, I remember that.
Dude,
bottom line,
burger advertising was just so good back then.
Food is commercials were so good. Commercials were so good back in the day, but
or rather, it's not as good as it was then. Nowadays,
bottom line, food is a commodity, and we'll provide that. We're gonna make it happen.
Dude, we're gonna make the Indescendants burrito.
We're gonna make it happen.
I'm like excited for that. And then we're gonna make an Indescendants burrito T-shirt. I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah, I know.
I'm so ready to make that
happen.
Yeah,
okay, so cool. when I get back, possibly this holiday season, when it's cold outside and people are on their way to work, we just hand out a breakfast burrito. Just be like,
so dope.
Yeah.
So what it means?
And it'll be reasonably priced too. Maybe like a nice round number, like $5 per breakfast burrito.
That's cheap.
Because the main intention is just to start people's day off on the right foot.
That's cheap, man.
Yeah.
What if we do a video where we hand it to like homeless people too? Like we're just being helpful and cool and providing value.
Yeah.
And even though it's just like being nice.
Not the helpful Honda people, but the helpful.
Close enough. Helpful Indescendants people.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm
Yeah.
serious, man. I really want to do an Indescendants breakfast
Yeah,
burrito.
dude.
That'd be dope.
We'll make it our own thing.
What makes it a thing? Like if you say
Yeah.
give it a full burrito, that's like going 10 on the amp. Yeah. Full burrito, guys. 10 on the amp. That's what it means.
10 bass, 10
Oh.
mid, 10 treble.
Or how about we like do a social media? Let's engineer a method to do it via social media, to where it's like if you're in the LA area, DM us and we'll deliver a burrito for you.
Yeah,
That'd be dope.
that'd be dope.
Yeah.
Tim,
So
go ahead.
for the breakfast burrito, we are serious about it, right? And for our listeners out there and our fans, you can expect an Indescendants burrito to be available within the next, I don't know, a couple of months. We will make it happen.
Yeah, man. Our slogan is full burrito. Means go 10. Go ham.
Full throttle.
Full throttle.
Yeah.
Full burrito.
Dude, yeah, I mean, yeah. Great
Well,
idea,
if you
guys.
think about the ingredients of a breakfast burrito, right, they are wholesome ingredients. Let's say you use bacon without any nitrates.
Uh-huh.
That's healthy.
Uncured, yeah,
Right.
sure, yeah, or whatever
Yeah.
the term
Or
is.
sausage without any nitrates, and let's say
Maybe
it's
we'll
made out
make-
of wholesome
we'll get-
ingredients.
We'll get it at
Organic
Whole Foods.
cheese, maybe even vegan imitation cheese,
For
and
we'll
then
have a,
maybe even tortillas without any grains in them. I
maybe
know
the
Whole
vegan
Foods
option, the
sell them.
healthy, yeah, grain free.
What's the vegan option? Just potatoes.
Beyond meat,
Beyond.
impossible meat.
Okay.
Yeah,
We'll think about
fags,
it, yeah.
fake eggs.
Yeah, fake eggs.
Fags. That's what they're called?
Wow.
I've never heard of
Yeah.
that. That's the first I've ever heard. Is that what they're really called? Fake eggs? Fags?
Yeah, fags.
Hey, yo, Google that shit real quick. Is that really a real thing? Yeah, look it up. I didn't even know that was. Well, I mean, there's representation now for every meat or animal product in the vegan world.
Yeah.
It for me, my exposure to it first was the Beyond Meat or Impossible, which I think two different companies, but they do the same thing. So I had the Impossible Burger with Fat Burger. I think that was the first time because I know I have a friend who's vegan, and she was like, "Hey, you should try it over." She was like, "I'm going to Fat Burger." I'm like, "But you're vegan. What are you gonna get over there?" She's like, "They have Impossible Meat." Oh, okay. So I tried it with her, and to be honest, it was probably like if a full meat burger is a 10 out of 10, the Impossible Burger was somewhere around like 7 or 8.
7. Okay.
I'm
in
like,
realness. In realness.
In
Taste.
realness, yeah, in realness
realness.
tasting,
Yeah.
it was pretty dang close. And you know,
Yeah.
after a while, I bet you I would forget the taste of real meat. But once you have a real meat burger, it's like, nah, this is good.
Yeah.
This is the way I want
Yeah.
it. But vegans are getting close. So when you say fags,
It's true. I saw it.
like, wow, I didn't even know that was a thing.
Well, maybe not.
What are they made out of? And how do they get it to the texture of eggs? What if you want an omelet? How does that work? You can get a vegan omelet now.
Again.
What would you put? Onions, tomato, mushrooms, cilantro.
How do we make ours ours?
We'll talk
We'll
about
talk
that
about
another
it.
time.
Yeah, but
you know, but we'll cater to some. You know, maybe we can cater to vegans with the fags. Dang,
The
that's
nice
weird.
thing about figuring out how to make it ours is that it's going to involve a lot of taste testing. And I'm down to have breakfast burritos for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
just
Not
to try.
to make that
I'm
happen.
such a big fan of breakfast burritos. It's not even
But
funny.
don't
Oh,
don't you
man.
feel like the power in your hands when you're like holding a perfectly formed, a perfectly filled burrito?
It's because
in
it's
your
all
hand?
inclusive. Your
Yeah.
carb intake, your protein intake. There might be veggies in there. There's some greens, some reds, whatever. It's the full package. It's full burrito.
But like when you're holding it in your hand, don't you feel like complete? Like it fits perfectly in your grip. It's emanating
one-hand it,
warmth
is
because
what
of the
you're saying.
ingredients. Yeah, you can one-hand it.
You
It
can-
emanates warmth because of the ingredients. Right? That's
Yeah.
the heat. The ingredients are like emanating heat through the foil,
Yeah.
and you just feel the power in your hands.
Yeah, man. Exactly. Yeah.
I have to order one now because before I go to work, I'm gonna have to have a breakfast burrito. Sorry, Keith. I wish you were here. I would order like
Well,
6.
eventually we're gonna have a podcast where we're all here. And that's gonna be dope.
Yeah.
And that's where we're gonna whip out these burritos.
It's true.
We're gonna make them on.
We're gonna make
podcast.
them on the spot, and we're just gonna have like a cook cast,
A little flat iron right
little
here.
flat iron, like a McGriddle kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that'd be really dope. It's like, you join us now on an Indescendants special cast where we have a griddle and we're making a burrito.
And it's just sizzling.
Yep. We're gonna do it.
We're gonna do it. We keep talking about these breakfast burritos. Eventually, we'll open up the Indescendants breakfast burrito truck.
Heck yeah.
That'd be dope. Or cart.
Yeah, that would be dope. As
So,
a tour bus.
Could you imagine that? Like, could you imagine like if we were a band that played like, and then instead of having like your regular like, I don't know, Dirty Dog cart, we have an Indescendants cart.
Yep.
And it's like, yeah, man. And then we're out there also cooking it.
Yeah.
Talk about fan engagement.
Yeah, I know. What a great way to build relationships with our fans.
Hell yeah. Yeah, make
Man,
our
we
own.
covered a lot of ground on this podcast. We started talking about
know.
Cars, the Dark Knight series.
It was
and
almost
then-
like a 3-course meal.
Yeah. Breakfast burritos. 3 things that we are very passionate about.
Yeah, man. And just having your needs met.
Yeah.
Being a wholesome person. Try not to feel, if you're going to take anything away from this podcast, try not to fill yourself up with the wrong things and fill yourself up with the right things. And I know that's very subjective, but try to be coming from a place that's more whole, and don't fill it from places like social media and high fructose corn syrup and stuff like that.
Get back to basics and see really
Get back
where...
to basics. Dial it back.
Yeah.
Take a step back and embrace the larger picture and see what you need at a basic level. And draw inspiration from good movies that you can draw tangents with. It doesn't have to be Batman. It can be anything. It can be like Austin Powers. There's a way to dissect every single movie and how it's good for you. Every single movie, any movie.
Definitely.
Whether it's Austin Powers, I know that's like really funny, but therein lies value. There is that it's a very funny movie, and there's a lot of lines that I say with friends, including you guys, from that movie, and it doesn't have to make sense. It just has to be funny, and that provides value in and of itself. So there are things you can get from movies that will address your needs. And just make sure you're able to draw the good things, and don't kill anybody. Don't rape anybody. Do the stuff that provides value.
Check out these quotes from Bruce Lee. He says,
Nice.
It is not daily increase, but daily decrease. Hack away the unessential. The closer to the source, the less wastage there is. Avoid the superficial. Penetrate the complex, go to the heart of the problem, and pinpoint the key factors.
What an amazing quote.
That resonates so well these days. Nice.
And he's right. It's not the daily increase, it's the daily decrease. Like, I feel like ever since I started decreasing things in my life, thinking that I like only really identifying the things that I just need, the happier I was.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Totally. Just that's a very good. I like the way that quote started, where it says, "Don't focus on the increase, focus on decrease."
Yeah. Usually the best answer is the simple one. Right.
Simple anything, for that matter.
Yeah.
Do whatever feels natural to you. But I'd say the problem with society today is too much social media consumption. And for people to dial back on that, I think would be a very good thing.
It unfortunately
For all of us.
has promoted a life of excess.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it's like,
very good point.
yeah, I like the way you worded that.
Super prevalent here in America. Like America, it's funny how other countries, quick side tangent, think of us Americans here in especially here in California. It's like LA even. Glamour everything, fake this. Let me get this done on myself because I'm not happy with the way it just. excess everything. If
Yeah,
you guys, if we whittle away down some of the wants in our lives, we'll inevitably be happy. The happier that'll be the byproduct of that. I think
you're right, because during my clubbing days, I knew a girl who had 3 nose jobs. Like, really?
What? How do you have 3 nose jobs?
I don't know.
Did you get punched in the face twice that you needed a third one?
I doubt that was the case, right? She didn't look like the type to engage in martial arts, but
okay,
like the life of excess, right, and glamour. Like, come on, how many nose jobs do you need?
That is like a first world thing.
Yeah, I mean, again, maybe
jobs.
maybe it stems from the lack of identity, and these days, well, especially the youth and teenagers, they're seeking. There's like an identity crisis there, and I don't know. Point being, is it? I don't know. Maybe you guys could help me out.
You're
point.
right. You're on the right
tough.
track.
It's just tough these days.
Yeah, you're on the right track.
Yeah.
It's an identity crisis, and I suffer from the same thing too, which is why I sought help from Julian and his transformation mastery program.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah, we'll have to check that out. Nice, Keith.
So, in summary, since we got to close this up in a bit, just fulfill your needs from a place that's whole. Whether that's intimacy, not necessarily intimacy, like you have your physiological needs met. Sorry, I'm about to sneeze. Just fill your needs from a wholesome place, and you therefore will become whole once your foundation is set at a very good place. Have a good foundation, and the rest of your life will be built on it in a very good way.
Yeah, I'd say dial it back again. Go get back to basics, and you'll see the clarity there.
Because not anywhere on that Maslow's hierarchy is there Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or YouTube, whatever. Anything that provides internet, it's not a necessity.
Talking about wholesome, right? Just think about this conversation. How much did this conversation cost? Nothing. And like even much less if we were in person. How many conversations have we had where we were just hanging out outside? Remember back in the days, we just hang out outside the soup plantation. We'd just be hanging out and laughing and having great conversation. How much did that cost? Nothing. Talk about wholesome fun.
You know, those are things that only you can put value on, and you will never probably get back again. Especially soup plantation, because they're gone now.
Yeah, rest in peace.
You know, they nipped it in the bud, man. They got ahead. They knew when the pandemic happened that they're not the kind of business that's gonna look. I mean, like buffets in general, with the way this pandemic work or this virus works, you're not gonna have people reaching in to buy food or to get food. Because not everybody washes their hands. Yeah, that's just a matter of fact. Not everybody, or if they do it, they don't do it effectively. There is that factor too. So, are you really gonna have a business where that's gonna like take off?
Yeah,
really.
self-serve areas have kind of
self-serve areas are, they've already been like that. That just exposes a major fundamental flaw.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, to bring it back.
Yeah.
Being wholesome, having those kick-ass adventures and times, man, brings it back. But yeah, man, be whole, be good, and be awesome.
And if you don't know what that looks like, just keep tuned in and we will show you on this Indescendants YouTube channel.
Especially with the breakfast burrito. Stay tuned for that, you guys.
That's coming, man.
That's totally coming.
You heard it here first.
Yeah.
Indescendants breakfast burrito. Mm-hmm. Oh, man. Any other thoughts, guys, before we close out?
That's about it.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's about it.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching. If you made it this far, comment down below.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, I made it this far, and you want to see the burrito.
See y'all next time.
See you all next time, okay? Blah, blah. Blee, blee.
If you guys like this video, hit the subscribe button for more Indescendants content.